The Attorney General from Colorado, Phil Weiser, is here. Thanks for being with us, and sorry you couldn't hear the speech as planned. There was rumblings about voter intimidation nationwide. Do we see anything like that here in Colorado?
We had one notable case that we did see in Fort Morgan. It got reported actually nationwide. A person who was a landlord, owned a mobile home park, said, if Trump wins, your rents are going to stay the same. But if Biden wins, I'm going to raise your rents. And that pressure is really an affront to the democratic process. We offered a cease and desist letter saying you've got to stop that sort of conduct. He concurred, signed off, and that was the really most notable incident we had. Part of what happened was we got the word out that we were concerned about possible voter intimidation, and we had, as we always do, a clean, fair, safe, and easy to vote election.
And so you've not heard of any other issues in Colorado, and how did you approach this year differently, knowing that people were on edge about the possibility?
Yeah.
Part of what we are a big believer of, whether it's consumer protection or civil rights or voting rights, is to engage the people of Colorado. And so we worked hard to get the word out that voter intimidation is a crime. If people hear about voter intimidation happening, we wanted to get the word about it so we could do something about it. This was the most notable case where it did happen, but part of what we believe happened is people were on notice. You can't intimidate someone, pressure someone how they vote. That's the core of our democracy. Every person gets to decide without pressure who to vote for.
I hope you don't mind indulging us for a moment with something a little more on the personal side. You clerked for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We lost Justice Ginsburg this year. Your thoughts on her passing, and also on the role that you played in the celebration of her life there at the Supreme Court building.
I appreciate the chance to talk about Justice Ginsburg. In the Jewish tradition, we have a saying when someone passes, may her memory be a blessing. With Justice Ginsburg, her memory is a blessing. I had the experience of working closely with her and having her as a mentor, helping me on a path, viewing the law as a tool for justice. Her achievements in fighting for equality, both as an advocate and on the bench, were legendary. We're celebrated, even in film.
They made a movie about it.
They made a movie about it. And what's great is, it's all true. She is truly an inspiration. And as I think back on the arc of my career, I wouldn't be standing here as your Attorney General without her guidance, without her mentorship and support. And I was able to, as you know, go back to Washington, D.C. and be with other clerks to celebrate her life, her inspiration for all of us to fight for justice and equality. So I think back with great fondness, with great appreciation, and just with great fortune that I was able to work for such an icon and have my path be shaped by her.
Yeah, our condolences to you for your loss. And let's talk about the U.S. Supreme Court now, because I think that one of the issues that has been raised over and over again is this concept of court packing. And changing the makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court. What do you think of that?
The risk that we're facing as a society is the possibility that the U.S. Supreme Court and the American people are not aligned. That the political process is going in one direction, for example, the Affordable Care Act, which is more popular than ever, and the Supreme Court could be poised to invalidate the Affordable Care Act. We're going to be defending that law next week in the face of the Trump administration trying to invalidate it. We'll see if the Supreme Court is going to be in that position. If it does, then the concerns that you note are apt, and what Vice President Biden has suggested he'd like to do is convene a bipartisan commission to review options for judicial reform to address what could become a real issue if the court does end up in an adversarial position towards the American people, invalidating laws that the American people support. That is a bad position for us to be in. Let's hope we don't face it. But if we do need to think about what sort of judicial reforms might make sense.
You know, I'd love to hear your opinion on Amy Coney Barrett, on her merits, just on her resume, on her deservedness to be on the high court, because for me, just as a member of the public, I think that was lost in this wash of politics. Nobody really talked about it. It was, this is too fast, we can't do it, you're being hypocritical. So as an Attorney General, someone who will, again, argue in front of this court, I'm sure, what's your opinion of her?
Part of what concerned me about her nomination, in addition to the point that it was rushed through, in a normal course of matters, we wouldn't see a nomination to our high court happen quite as quickly as this did. Obviously, they wanted to get this done on the eve of the election. The concern I really have here is, to the extent her views are as extreme as they look to be, for example, on the Affordable Care Act, on issues like reproductive rights, we are facing a risk that we've got a court that is really hard to the right, that is ideologically driven in one direction. What I believe is most healthy for the Supreme Court is to have a balance. And what we saw last term from our Chief Justice, John Roberts, was on issues involving reproductive rights, the Dreamers. This term before on the census, we saw a justice who was really the tipping point of the court, helping steer the court in a moderate, sensible direction. The worry I have is if the court gets too ideologically fixed in one direction, we lose that balance, and the court could really lose confidence of the public. So that was my concern about her nomination. We will see now that she's on the court if she lives up to those concerns. But that, to me, is a real issue to watch.
All right. Attorney General Phil Weiser, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's always great being with you guys. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. And we are